Hello and welcome back. Hopefully you've gone away and already watched my video on the typical genre conventions that are going to come up in the CIE English Language Paper 2 Writing exam. If you haven't, go away and do that now, and then come back and be prepared for this. This is going to be hopefully a relatively short video, talking you through some of the pitfalls of the Paper 2 exam, things that I've noticed. This is the specimen paper. So this is the paper they made to show teachers what perhaps was going to come up when they first started doing these exams. And I've noticed how the wording has changed over time. In this question 1, for example, let's get my pen at the ready. In this question 1, I found in different past paper questions, and hopefully you found as well, that at the start, it doesn't often now start with who's asked you to do the task. It'll give you a time frame. So it would be like something like you have recently something, or you will be something, right? So what that means is that you're going to be writing it from a particular time frame. So it's something that is going to happen, it is something that is currently happening, or it's something that's already happened. And if you get that wrong, it's going to really trip you up and the examiner is going to get you. There's 15 marks for this writing. So this is the part where you want to be spending that bit more time. So they asked you to produce a leaflet called Leaving Home. The leaflet will be aimed at older teenagers who are going to live in another town or city or go to university. With older teenagers, now you could go informal and risk patronizing them, or you could go formal and risk losing your audience. You have to get a balance of the two. If it were me writing it, I think I'd go ironic, but that's my style, and it's not everyone's. So we need to write the text of this leaflet no more than 400 words, and really stick to these word counts. The examiner is going to have read lots of these. They're not going to count the words, and I don't think you should either. But you should, use your hands as a rule. I'm thinking it's like 400 words is 2 of my hands together on a piece of paper. But I've got quite small handwriting. You'll have to work it out yourself. Count the number of words in a line times the number of lines, something like that. If you go over the word count, or if you write under like 200 words, 250 words, it's not going to give the examiner enough to say, or they're going to enough to mark rather, or they're going to penalise you for writing too much. You don't want to make them bored. So we need to give advice and guidance on how to manage living away from your family for the first time. So we've got an informative purpose. I would, in my planning, because I am definitely going to plan this question, I'm going to break it down. So I'm thinking, what's the difference between a town or city? I'm thinking what types of things to expect at university. So I could use some subheadings. That's a typical genre convention. So I'm thinking accommodation. I'm thinking social life. I'm thinking things like homesickness. And I'll probably leave it at those 3, I think. I could do more, but that's going to help me, and it's going to scaffold the rest of my work. The reflective commentary, only 10 marks. Nice. I like that. And because I've done the paper 1 paper already, I should be prepared to do this. So I would use my simple what, how, and why structure. And again, if you haven't seen some of my paper 1 videos, I recommend going back there. I'm not going to re-explain this here just for the sake of time. So let's have a look at the chunkier one. This question 2. Your local newspaper is running a writing competition and you decide to enter. write a descriptive piece called The Storm. In your writing, focus on sound, light, and movement to help your reader imagine the scene. So I'm going to be thinking about this live. I haven't had a look at this question beforehand. I'm going to just model how I would think. I need to meet these requirements: sound, light, and movement. So in my planning, I'm going to hopefully address them. One thing in a descriptive piece is it's hard to progress from one thing to the other without turning it into a narrative or giving it a story, or God forbid including something like a zombie or a unicorn, which is not something that I would typically want to see. We want to avoid a cliche. Where do I want to set this? The storm. What says something to me? I am going to go. I think mine's going to be at sea. I like that idea. I'm going to have something like a lighthouse that's going to act as this focal point, and hopefully I can use that as a tool to describe the light. I want it's like blinking. I can use that as an extended metaphor or like a motif, something that keeps coming up again and again, this blinking light fighting against this dark storm, the waves kind of rising up like a great behemoth swallowing this lighthouse whole. I'm really enjoying this. So my sound, I'm gonna progress. Like I said earlier, I want it to go from quiet to loud. I want this storm building. I could use let's think. What do I want? How do I want to start it? Something like a gentle whistle of the wind. I don't want it to be, I don't know, rattling the windows of the lighthouse. Perhaps it wouldn't rattle. I think rattle's too strong, but kind of whistling. Ooh, it's not how you spell whistling. I'm going to make it whistle through the windows. And look how, gentle whistle of the wind. Why have I repeated a whistle? Possibly because I'm coming up with these ideas as I'm going. What's another word? The gentle... I don't know. Gentle rush of the wind whistling through the windows of the lighthouse. That's a bit better, isn't it? And then at the end, I want my wind roaring, don't I? I want it to rattle the windows. I want it trying to get inside, something personifying, because then I'm talking about movement as well. And I'm going to have my sea as my movement. It's like I say, kind of swallowing this lighthouse whole, the waves kind of toing and froing and literally throwing things at the lighthouse. Oh, I think I'd have a lot of fun with it. So lots of imagery, lots of techniques, lots of metaphors. I find I'm doing those by accident. Let's have a look at this question 3. In class, you've been discussing whether sending criminals to prison is an effective way of reducing crime. Write an article for your school magazine. In your writing, discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So this is writing to comment. I have to have advantages and disadvantages. So that's pretty easy. So I need an intro. I need a title as well. Thinking my genre conventions. So I'm going to be asking and answering these questions as best as I can. An overview of the issues. And then I'm going to do like a 3-point plan. I'm going to do advantages here. Something about public safety. Disadvantages. I'm going to look at crime and reoffending rates. I've got a purpose to inform here, haven't I? So I'm going to be using lots of facts and statistics, which I can make up. I can use some anecdotes, perhaps. And then I'm going to end on something perhaps a bit more thoughtful. So, an issue is never as simple as advantages and disadvantages. If I'm doing something like this, I want to find the complicating issue and then summarize everything in a conclusion, of course. That's where I summarize. I think that's a good question. So you've recently visited an exhibition of modern art at a museum. Write a review of the exhibition, which will be published on a website called Art Today. Like I say in other videos, they love a review. So it's another one of hello. It's another text type that's to do with commenting. So I might do a rating or a recommendation. Before that, I need a title as well. And then I'd need to progress logically through the issues. I'm not going to go into this one in so much detail just because I've done some reviews in some of my previous ones, but it can be, you can play around with formality. You can be formal or informal, but I'm definitely going to be using as much as my art knowledge as I possibly can. If it's a website called Art Today, I'm thinking it's going to be art experts. So I'm going to be using my very limited knowledge about modern art and what it means. Do you know what? I'd probably go down like the Grayson Perry route just because he's really active and I really enjoy Grayson Perry's art and it reframes what I think a lot of modern art is. I'd avoid things like, saying that all art is bad. I might try and again find that thing that's a bit more complicated. It's too easy to say art or modern art is bad, isn't it? It feels a bit like an opinion someone's grandma or granddad would have. Which that was disrespectful of me. Sorry to all the grandma and granddads out there. We love them. Here is the mark scheme. This is for 1A, and this is for question 2. We can see how it's divided up. So we need to be pleasing the examiner as much as possible. We obviously need to keep our tenses and our spelling as accurate as possible. You're allowed some errors. One error is not going to ruin your full mark answer. We've got to be engaged. So that means, if you're finding it boring, if you're not enjoying what you're writing, change something about it. Cross it out, restart. Go back and plan. That's the important part for me. Think about what jumps out to you and really sings to you and makes you think, I could write this. This could be published somewhere real. And that's what the examiner's looking for. They're not looking for you to use a semicolon in a sentence or an alliterative triple. That doesn't equal high marks. What equals high marks is believability. You have to do those things and it be entertaining, informative, and educational. And my goodness, it has to be fun. Look at this. Including complex structures, less common lexis. This is really easy. These are really easy things for you to go away and practice. So less common structures, I'm thinking things like a cyclical structure where the beginning and end match. In my descriptive, I could use that. Or when I'm doing my descriptive, where I have my repeated motif all the way through. Less common lexis. You should have already gone through your GCSEs or your other qualifications and picked up certain words which your English teacher absolutely loves. The examiner's going to love them as well. Brobdingnagian is one that I've heard a few times. Do I like it? No. It has to be used accurately. How am I doing for time? Not long left. Finally, this one, it's lots of the same things. Task is achieved fully. So again, make sure you're meeting those general conventions. I hope, again, this has been useful for you. I have really appreciated everyone's comments. This was just made for my class, and it's been so nice to know that people across the world have been enjoying this and finding it useful. I've really enjoyed making them, and I hope you have enjoyed watching. Thank you very much, and goodbye. And good luck, I should say that.